Revenue just at $2.77 billion. I mean, that is a massive 23% year-over-year increase.
Yeah, and non-GAAP EPS landed at $2.50 per share.
Exactly. And full-year procedure growth guidance is officially set at a highly aggressive 13.5% to 15.5%.
It's just staggering. I mean, we're looking at a medical device company flexing the kind of, financial muscle usually reserved for big tech monopolies.
Oh, absolutely. And they punctuated this whole quarter with a $1.13 billion share repurchase.
Right, which is just a massive vote of internal confidence from management.
Yeah, it really is. And, that is the mission for this deep dive. We are walking you, the retail investor, straight through Intuitive Surgical's Q1 2026 10Q and their investor presentation.
Because honestly, it's one thing to know that a company beat top-line estimates, right? But it's an entirely different thing to understand the mechanics of the engine that actually produce those results.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. We've got that $2.77 billion top-line revenue figure, but we need to dissect exactly how that revenue was generated.
Right, the segment breakdown.
Yeah. And when you look at it, instruments and accessories revenue was the massive driver here. It brought in $1.69 billion.
Which is up 23% year over year, by the way.
Right. I mean, that is a staggering amount of money for what essentially amounts to surgical consumables. It's a classic razor and blades model.
Yeah, totally.
Intuitive isn't just selling robots, they're selling a recurring revenue ecosystem. It's less like buying a car and more like buying a commercial espresso machine for a coffee shop.
Right. The hospital buys the heavy one-time machine, but Intuitive basically owns their daily coffee pod budget for the next decade.
Exactly. Every time a surgeon sits down at that console, Intuitive is selling the pods.
And, the velocity of those consumable sales is where the story gets really compelling. To understand how they reached $1.69 billion, you just have to look at the sheer procedure volume.
The numbers are insane.
They are. In Q1 alone, Da Vinci procedures grew 16% to approximately 847,000.
Wow.
Just stop and think about that scale. Nearly 850,000 human surgeries in 90 days.
Yeah, which translates to millions of specialized instruments that, have to be safely replaced. And their Ion system, the one for endoluminal procedures, saw procedures surge even faster, right?
Yeah, Ion procedures grew by 39%. Plus, they pulled in another $434 million from their services segment.
Right, so hospitals are constantly buying the single-use instruments and concurrently paying ongoing maintenance contracts. It really feels like a hardware company acting like a software subscription service.
It does. But, that only works if your installed base is massive. With over 20.4 million historical procedures and 3.2 million in 2025 alone, that installed base is just an unstoppable recurring revenue engine.
Right, but I mean, to sell more blades, you have to place more razors.
Right.
Hospitals are physically bottlenecked by the number of machines they have.
Exactly. System placements are the lifeblood here.
Right, and systems revenue hit $651 million, which is up 24%. They placed 431 Da Vinci systems.
Up 17% year over year.
Yeah, but crucially, 232 of those were the new Da Vinci 5 systems.
Over half. I mean, pulling off a rapid technological transition like that is incredibly difficult.
Oh, for sure. And Ion saw 52 placements, pushing its installed base to 1,041 systems. But here is the thing I noticed. The 10Q notes that 56% of Da Vinci placements were under operating leases.
Right.
And 118 of those were usage-based leases. So what does this all mean for hospitals that might be hesitant to drop millions on capital equipment in a tight macro environment?
What's fascinating here is the strategic genius of usage-based leasing. I mean, hospital administrators are dealing with really tight capital, nursing shortages, inflation.
Yeah, high borrowing costs.
Exactly. Authorizing a multi-million-dollar upfront expenditure is incredibly tough right now. So by leaning into these usage-based leases, Intuitive dramatically lowers that barrier to entry.
So the hospital's cost just scales with their actual utilization of the machine.
Right. It secures this long-term, highly predictable recurring revenue for Intuitive while easing the immediate burden on the hospital.
It's a win-win. Okay, so we know systems are being placed and leased, but what exactly are surgeons doing with them?
Yeah, the procedure mix is super important.
Domestically, U.S. procedures grew 14%, and the 10Q specifies that general surgery is just booming, like cholecystectomy, hernia repair, appendectomy.
Right. It's becoming the standard of care for high-volume, routine surgeries, not just the complex niche stuff anymore.
But wait, if general surgery is booming, why are bariatric procedures dropping by 10%? That's a glaring anomaly in an otherwise stellar report.
Yeah, it's a great question. The decline in bariatrics is really driven by the explosion of highly effective alternative medical therapies.
Oh, like the new weight loss pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. Patients are trying pharmacological interventions first, but, this is where the versatility of the platform is crucial. A hospital can just pivot that operating room time to work through their backlog of hernia repairs.
Right, the hardware doesn't care what kind of surgery it is.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights how international adoption is buffering these domestic shifts.
Yeah, because outside the U.S. procedures grew by 19% this quarter. They saw exceptional strength in India, the UK, South Korea, Italy, and Germany.
Though China and Japan did see slower growth.
Right, and the report ties that specifically to fewer recent system placements in those regions, which just proves the point placements drive procedures.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the top line is fantastic. Global expansion is buffering domestic anomalies. But retail investors need to know if this translates to the bottom line, right? Let's talk margins and risks.
Yeah, the non-GAAP gross margin was incredibly strong at 67.8%.
That's phenomenal for heavy hardware. And full-year guidance expects 67.5% to 68.5%.
Right, but there are risks. Tariffs are the elephant in the room here. Management explicitly modeled a 1.0% hit to revenue in 2026 due to current tariffs.
Right, and they warned of material impacts if new tariffs are enacted.
Exactly. Plus, depreciation expenses are rising from heavy infrastructure investments, and they have higher costs from manufacturing the new Da Vinci 5.
Yeah, new platforms are always expensive to scale. But here's where it gets really interesting. Despite these tariff and cost risks, management still felt confident enough to buy back $1.13 billion in stock.
Yeah, that's massive. But we do have to look soberly at their operating expense growth, which is
Yeah.
guided at 11% to 14% for 2026.
Right, building industrial scale is expensive.
It is, but it's completely necessary to support the Da Vinci 5 rollout. And it ties into CEO Dave Rosa's focus on the quintupling.
Better outcomes, better experiences, lower cost, expanded access, and a better experience for the care team.
Exactly. They're positioning themselves as an indispensable partner, not just a vendor.
Which leaves you with a really provocative thought. With this aggressive rise in usage-based operating leases, is Intuitive Surgical quietly transforming from a traditional medical hardware manufacturer into the world's most sophisticated physical SaaS company?
It's a fascinating way to look at it. They're basically monetizing the physical execution of human surgery on a per-click basis.
It really is wild. If you want to keep tracking shifts like this, make sure you follow the show for daily, no-nonsense earnings coverage.